Hello, hello. Hello, Dr. Andrea. Can you hear me?
Yes, this is good. Hello.
Hello, yeah. This is Dr. Anubha from IIIT-Delhi. Oh, I cannot, if I see the screen, then my face is not. Hello, can you please hear me and see me properly?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So shall we begin? So, right. I just announced that. बाहर announcement कर दूं that students should come in. एक बार बाहर yes. हाँ yes. एक बार बाहर हाँ ठीक है. I guess we should start it. Sure. Here's that. Any side. So we are also doing live streaming. Good evening, friends. Welcome to this last session of RIISE. This session is a panel discussion on the topic of women in engineering. On behalf of IIIT-Delhi, we start with a warm welcome and a brief introduction of our esteemed panelists. Today we have with us Professor Ram Gopal Rao. Professor Rao is currently a professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering and is the immediate past director of IIT-Delhi. Before joining IIT-Delhi as a director in April 2016, Professor Rao served as a P.K. Kelkar Chair Professor for Nanotechnology in the Department of Electrical Engineering at IIT Bombay. Professor Rao has over 480 research publications in the area of nanoscale devices and nanoelectronics, and is an inventor on 49 patents, including 18 US patents. 13 of his patents have been licensed to industries for commercialization. Professor Rao is a co-founder of 2 deep technology startups at IIT Bombay. His research and leadership contributions have been recognized with over 30 awards and honors in the country and abroad. He is a recipient of 3 honorary doctorates. His recognitions include the prestigious Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize in Engineering Sciences, Infosys Prize, Swarn Jayanti Fellowship Award from the Department of Science and Technology, JC Bose National Fellowship, among many others. Welcome, Professor Rao. Our next panelist is Dr. Andrea Kathleen. She is a Technology R&D Fellow at ST Microelectronics, France. Dr. Andrea is an electrical engineer with PhD and HDR degrees from the University of Lille, France. Her focus areas are the design of advanced RF, millimeter wave, terahertz, and ultra-low power circuits and systems. She is very active in the IEEE community, strongly implied with SSCS, the Executive Committee of VLSI. Recently, Dr. Andrea has been awarded an honorary doctorate from the University of Lund, Sweden. Welcome, Dr. Andrea. Our next panelist is Dr. Lipika Dey. Dr. Lipika is a chief scientist at Tata Consultancy Services Research. Earlier, she had worked as faculty, Department of Mathematics at IIT-Delhi. Dr. Lipika has a PhD in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Kharagpur, where she had done her graduation and post-graduation in Mathematics and Computer Science. Currently, at TCS Research, she is heading research on the theme of economic and financial intelligence. Her areas of interest include natural language processing, artificial intelligence applications, machine learning, and analytics of multi-structural data. She has been awarded the Fellowship of Indian National Academy of Engineering in 2021 and is the Distinguished Scientist Award by TCS in 2012. Dr. Lipika is actively involved with ACMW organization since its inception and is an active champion of all causes related to women in STEM. Welcome, Dr. Lipika. Our next panelist is Dr. Seema Khanna. Dr. Seema is a Deputy Director General at National Informatics Center, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Dr. Seema holds master's and PhD degrees from IIT Delhi. She has over 2 decades of ICT experience spanning across various domains, including e-governance, health ICT, application, email messaging, cybersecurity, networking, data center, and ICT operations. In addition to diverse application platforms, she has also pioneered and architected the email and the messaging platform, which is the largest platform of its kind offered by a government globally. She has been a part of the Arogya Setu project right from the inception. Dr. Seema is also the Director of Operations of National Knowledge Network, the largest national research and education network of its kind in the world. She has played a key role in taking NKN to the global arena and successfully forged partnerships with other such major networks across the globe, thereby facilitating mutual R&D partnerships between Indian researchers and their counterparts across the world. She is a chief investigator of RIISE, a research project focused on providing a security posture assessment and detect threats or attacks targeted at government's ICT infrastructure. Welcome, Dr. Seema. First of all, we thank you all for agreeing to be a part of this panel discussion. I, Professor Anubha Gupta, IIIT Delhi, would be the moderator for this session. The objective of this panel discussion is to have some takeaways in terms of opportunities available, initiatives being taken in different institutions, organizations, and by government, and suggestions for women in engineering for career growth and advancement. So my first question is addressed to all of you. First, I invite Dr. Lipika to share with us some of the effective measures and initiatives TCS is taking for women in engineering in terms of women hirings, women career advancements, and retention. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this panel. So TCS, first of all, believes in equal opportunity. As someone who has been in TCS for last 15 years, let me share some of the experiences that I have seen how the organization has been taking different measures based on the need of the hour. So first of all, it is about, we all know that while at entry level, we have always had almost equal proportion of girls and boys. It's at the middle management level where things start declining. So a large number of measures are actually targeted at that level, where starting from flexible working hours, working policies, to actually devising a large number of roles that suit women at different times of the career, large number of opportunities based on individual interests as well as inclinations, whether it's about delivery options or being architects or being researchers. So there is a wide variety of roles that are available, and the organization has in many cases, what I read from experiences shared by a lot of women on our company's portal, organization has actually gone out a long way to accommodate and create new roles and opportunities to suit the needs of women, say whether it is for elderly care at home or for child care, giving long leaves, taking them back and retraining facilities. After that, there have been special managerial programs to groom them, to give them opportunities to learn networking, to build their own networking facilities. I myself have attended a program called IIIT-Delhi. That's a very highly rated program of TCS, which is entirely targeted at grooming women leaders. There are several other managerial programs, so I won't say that it's always good to only attend women's programs. We have had programs which are equally attended by men and women, which actually allow us all to build our networking opportunities. We are encouraged to take part in a number of external forums, which is also equally important, because after a certain level, it's also very important to grow your own networks in order to be in the profession. So this is a large number of active steps to actually groom women to gradually move towards leadership position. The other thing that I would like to actually emphasize is also, it's not just about grooming women. It's about encouraging and believing in diversity as a whole. And that also needs grooming men in the workplace about being how to interact, how to encourage, how to not engage in any kind of activity that may be offensive to anyone's sensibilities. And I see TCS running a number of campaigns, programs, which are actively grooming everybody to encourage a diverse work. That's all.
So this was really interesting. So I guess some of the key points that you highlighted were the flexible working hours and the availability of roles that suit women. And one of the very interesting aspects that you brought about is grooming women for managerial, for being leaders, as well as grooming men and women both, particularly men, sensitizing them to respect the women in the careers. So thank you. Next, I invite Dr. Andrea to share efforts being taken by ST Microelectronics in France and across the globe in this aspect.
Thank you very much, Anuba. Do you hear me enough loud?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. So thank you very much, and thank you for having me today on this prestigious panel. I'm sorry I could not come in person. So I fully agree with what was already said. So it's not a matter of only taking care of the women community, it's a matter of a global approach from both men and women community. So now in France, we have a more difficult situation that I think you have in India, is that we have, so for sure the population is half young ladies, half young men when they are in high school, but then when getting into superior studies, there are very few young ladies who go into STEM studies. And this is really a very big problem, because if you want to hire them, they need to be educated in the field. And so we are having action in ST, we are having actions already in high schools in order to encourage young ladies to come into STEM studies, in order to show them what does that mean and what it brings to the society overall to be trained in science. We are then having actions inside the universities also to attract the young ladies that are studying there. So once they get into ST, so yes, for sure. So we have in place a program of mentoring and coaching and advising, which is most of the cases of one-to-one. Okay, and this is realized through our network of women we have in the company. We are also providing specific training to the persons who are put into leadership position. It's called the Women in Leadership. And so to be clear, there will be no positive discrimination, meaning to prefer a lady for a man for a given position if the lady doesn't have the required skills, for sure. Okay, so but now, so that's a global, it's an overall state of spirit that has to be present all through the company, and it's a matter that has to be tackled by each of and every person in the company to do that. So I don't say it's easy. Okay, so we are not so many ladies into high leadership position inside the company, but the situation is changing little by little. The very good news is that the young generation, so the people that are in school, are in university now, and who will come to work in industry or academia after their studies, the bias of men against women and so on doesn't exist anymore, and they even feel strange of listening to what we are telling to them as long-time stories. Okay, and so this is a very positive aspect of what will be the future. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Dr. Andrea, for sharing this information. Yes, indeed, we do find that there is a need to encourage women to transit from high school to STEM-related fields in higher education universities. And thank you for sharing the initiatives being taken at the universities and the organizations. So my next question is to Professor Rao. Professor Rao, you have been associated with two premier engineering universities of India. We would like to know about some good initiatives of IIT Bombay and IIT Delhi in this regard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the panel. I think, if we see fewer women in engineering, it's because I think we don't have enough women in engineering. You become what you see. I think we need role models. That's the first thing that we recognized it in the IIT system. In fact, in IIT, when I joined in 2016, in the undergraduate classes, we had about 8% girls. And overall at IIT Delhi, we had about 20% girls. So that was the these were the figures at IIT Delhi. And now, today, if you look at IIT Delhi, 33% of our students are women. Every third student at IIT Delhi is actually a woman. That is one change that has taken place. And even in undergraduate classes, every fifth student is a woman. So 20% of women in the undergraduate classes. That is one major change that has happened, in the last 6 years, and I'm happy that I was there, when I could see all these changes taking place. How did it happen? I think we, as an engineer, to me, everything is based on data. I think if you cannot measure something, you cannot improve anything. I think that is the fundamental, concept of engineering. You have to be first able to measure. So once we saw that the numbers are so low in the IIT system, we did a very simple intervention. We said, why is it that so few girls are coming to IITs? So now when you look at the JEE data, and we looked at all the students who are qualifying in JEE, so about 20% of girls could have come to IITs. If all the girls who are qualifying in JEE Advanced come to IITs, the number would have been 20% without us doing anything. So they just get the seat on their own merit, and that number would have been 20%. But the actual number was 8%. So where are these 12% girls, going? Why is there a drop from 20% which is expected and 8% which is actually happening? The reason was, in many cases, girls don't want to, rather the parents don't want to send the girls to faraway places. A girl student in Hyderabad gets admission in IIT Guwahati. The parents don't want to send the girl to Guwahati, rather admit the girl in IIIT in Hyderabad. IIIT is a great institute. There is nothing wrong in that. But then the problem in that case was IIT's overall girls percentage is now becoming low because they're all joining other institutions which are nearby. So once we recognized that problem, that 12% of girls who could have come to IITs are going to other institutions, we did a very simple intervention at the IIT level, and I was part of that decision making, and I supported it and championed that. What we did was we created extra seats for girls in every IIT. So for example, in IIT Hyderabad, so we created a few supernumerary seats so that the girl can find a kind of a seat in IIT Hyderabad and doesn't have to go out of Hyderabad. And once we did that intervention in every IIT, once we created those supernumerary seats for the girls, and then the numbers automatically became 20%. We have not compromised on the merit alone. There was, the girls anyway would have come to IIT. But now, because we are creating those seats in the nearby IIT, the girl is now able to come to IIT and not drop off and go to any other college. So that was one simple intervention we did, and that made a major difference to the IIT system. Now we have 20% girls in all IITs at IIT-Delhi and every other place. So that was one thing which was very important to do. At IIT-Delhi, we also did a study. Last 15 years, we said, how are girls performing as compared to boys? Of course, you would have got a certain rank and entered IITs, but after you come to IITs, how are you performing? And when we looked at the data, 15 years of data at IIT Delhi, girls usually, 15 years of data shows that have one full grade point average higher than the boys. If the average for boys is 7 CGPA, for girls it was 8 CGPA. That is what IIT Delhi data actually showed. One grade point average is a huge difference in the IIT system. So once we realized that, after all, why do you want girls? Because you want good engineers. So that I think if you want good engineers, you basically have to do some of these simple interventions. And now things are slowly getting corrected and things are actually getting better. I think this is what we need to be doing. And I think everywhere we need to look at what is the girls' percentage, understand why they are not coming. Once you do that, that analysis, you can always take corrective steps to change the situation. Even in the faculty at IIT Delhi, when I joined, the average we had about less than 10% of faculty who were women. And now at IIT Delhi, during my time in the last 6 years, I recruited about 230 faculty, and now the number is now 18%. I did not have to do anything. Now we just created more women in the leadership position. So we have, for the first time in IIT Delhi history, we had first woman dean in the just about 4 years ago. And in the senior management level, leadership level, we have never had so many women, as associate deans and deans. So once you see women in those positions, once these women, when a candidate is applying to IIT, when they see all these women in the committees and all of that, they get reassured, and then they also now tend to join that institute and all of that. I think we need to create these role models everywhere, and that is what we have done at IIT Delhi. Now the results are pretty visible. Like I said, about 17% women we recruited without compromising on the merit at any place. And now IIT Delhi, every third student is a woman, again without compromising on the merit anywhere. I think that's what we need to be doing. And I think at every place where we see fewer women, we need to analyze why is it happening. And there is I don't believe there is anything biological, in that. When people say, girls don't do well in maths and all that, it's never true. There are countries, I was recently looking at some data, for example, in some countries like Iceland, girls actually do better than boys because there are more girls pursuing maths related courses. Where they are in a majority, where they are not in smaller numbers, they tend to do very well. Whereas in Turkey, for example, in many other countries, girls don't do as well as boys. It's obviously if people and the other peer percentage is 90%. Of course, these 10 people will always feel insecure, and they will always be fighting for a place among those 90 people. I think when it is 50-50, obviously everything will be fine. I think I personally don't believe anything which is biological. It's all cultural. I think we need to analyze the data and then take steps at every level so that I don't see any future for any country if 50% of our population, if they are not working in mainstream kind of roles, if they are not be on par with men. I don't think country will ever develop and will ever become a developed nation. I think we have to do that, and all institutions need to take these measures and do it right.
So thank you, Professor Rao. This was truly insightful for the initiatives being taken at IIT Delhi as far as girl students are concerned to join engineering and the faculty hirings. Next, I invite Dr. Seema to share her views on what is available in NIC and what the government is doing as far as women hirings and career advancement is concerned in government sector.
Okay, hi. First, I would like to thank sir for giving that single remark. The girls did a higher CGPA. I think you girls need to clap for yourself for that. Give it a loud round of applause. Thank you for that. Probably acknowledging that we are just as good, if not better. So girls, before a lot has been said, and I see a lot of girls in the audience. So I'm sure you've already broken the barriers, the mindsets, whatever anybody's built about women, right? This panel, sirs here, otherwise sirs badly outnumbered in this panel too. So I would just, before we go into, I throw in a little bit more stats just to add more flavor to whatever the conversation point today is. I would like to think that at least in my lifetime, and you are the next generation, or next to next rather, you need to make sure that by the time I go, there needs to be a topic, a panel discussion on men in engineering and a men's international day, right? So I hope you girls make me see that before I depart for my heavenly abode, heaven, hell, despite the point. But what I'm just trying to say here is that we are no less. That's the reason why all of us are in this room today. We're practically preaching to the choir here. Perhaps this conversation should be held with women who are not in the room, because they are the ones who need to be cajoled, who need to be told. Hanuman ko batana padta hai, wo Hanuman hai. You have to tell the woman that you're no less, you're better. So all of us have actually won the battle, right? So we are already there. But what I do expect that when you young girls go back and carry forth the beacon, you are going to be mothers tomorrow, you're going to be in leadership roles tomorrow, you're going to be heading departments. You need to nurture the next generation that's coming on. Like sir very rightly said, it's all about role models. I think the first role model all of you would collectively agree is, I'm saying my mother, though not an engineer, she was my role model. Why? Because she did not stop me from being what I wanted to be. That's the first step, that instill the confidence, because today the topic is women in engineering, right? So we cannot deviate from that. And the reason why we're having that conversation is because it's on the spotlight, women LS. That's the reason why we're having this conversation. So the role model starts, your role model does not need to be an engineer. Your role model can be any woman who feels empowered enough to do what she wants to do, right? You do it, become an engineer. Tomorrow you want to work, good. If you don't want to work, it's because you don't want to, not because somebody else is telling you not to. So let me throw in a couple more stats just to turn up things a little bit, because before I came here, even I thought I should brush up on my stats. So, well, like sir named a few countries. From a global standpoint, India has 43% STEM girls, girls in STEM. And that is much more than US, UK, Germany, and US put together. So that means what? That we're there, right? We're already doing the STEM thing. And the 48% population in India is girls. Out of that, 49% go for higher education. But only 20% of them are in the workforce. Where's the decline? I'm sure all you girls sitting in the room today are quite convinced that when you get out, you're going to go to very good places, you're going to work very well, right? Don't let that burn out. Do not let the world decide whether you want to work or you don't want to work. Because obviously the statistics is like Sir said, we've got to bank on data. The data says that you're doing STEM. The data says 50% of the population are women, but the data also says that just 20% of women in the workforce. Why? What is pulling you back? Of course, woman is considered to be the primary caregiver. माँ भी वही है, बहन भी वही है, लेकिन वो सारे रिश्तों का बोझ एक लेडी पे आ जाता है. It's up to you, and we do a tremendous job. I mean, a man is not asked that, oh, how you're handling home and work. A woman is always asked, we're doing both the jobs. Why is that question only posed to a woman? We're doing it. We're doing a tremendous job. So you need to be convinced internally that you can do it. Only then you can take it forward. I hope me and Lepika and ma'am, if you chose us to be role models tomorrow, I hope we've convinced you that you need to be there. Another reason why I want to mention this here is when I come to the government perspective later, is that when you pick statistics again, when you pick up large organizations, majority of the CEOs are engineers. Have you girls ever taken those stats? Just take out those stats. Majority of the CEOs, men or women, are engineers. That means technology is the future, right? No matter what kind of industry you're getting into, no matter what kind of organization you're getting into it cannot be run without technology. So if women are there, if you want to land up into CEO positions, you do need to have a technology brain. You do need to have a technology bent of mind. So you do need to get there. So we need more women engineers. We need more women CEOs. If not for women themselves, it's for the economic growth of the country. You need to be there. When you talk about entrepreneurs, women in engineering today, kids these days want to work for themselves rather than work for somebody. There's so many entrepreneurs. Pandemic has, like I was talking just before the session, that pandemic has spawned such brilliant innovations, and we fund a lot of startups in the government. So it spawned such brilliant innovations. So the reason, and out of that, a large number of them are women. You would be surprised to see the statistics that compared to urban and rural, we didn't touch about women in rural. A lot of girls who come from rural. The number of pradhans in the rural community is shot up significantly. That's because women are emerging and realizing their power. So we need a lot of women. Again, like I said, I'm preaching to the choir because you girls, I'm sure you're not hearing all this for the first time because you already air. You've already beaten that. You've already done that. But you need to go and have this conversation with girls who you feel need to hear this from you, right? Now, when we talk about the government perspective, we don't have the luxury of having or assigning a quota. UPSC does not have it. Some state boards have it. Some state exams have it. We do not have that luxury of assigning quota for women to get them more into government. So there's some brilliant initiatives that have been taken from IIT. From a government standpoint, I cannot say that. But what I can say based on my experiences, if you clear the written exam, there's a very large probability of you clearing the interview more than your counterpart in the male. Because you already reached there. The sensitization is already there that women need to be pushed forward. That's the reason why we're having the conversation today. The spotlight is on us. I hope there's a time when it's not, but today it is. So that the environment is conditioned to give you that extra nudge. It's there. So if you clear the written, you land up in an interview, there's a very large probability that you're going to be given a better chance of clearing it in the government standpoint as compared to your male counterpart. That I'm speaking from sheer experience because there's no quota allocation in the government. I come from a government board. As regarding initiatives for women, they're everywhere. They're everywhere ever since Honorable PM took its oath. There's so many initiatives because it ultimately boils down to how much fund allocation is done for women schemes, for women entrepreneurship schemes. You go to women and child development sites, there's such a lot of money being allocated. The Digital India program, how many of you have ever bothered to read about the Digital India program? Anybody? Anybody? One girl. Part of you. Anybody? Okay, good. 3 ladies, not bad. But Digital India program is the flagship program of the government. That is to bridge the digital divide between the haves and the have-nots. So there's a lot of fund being allocated in that, focused primarily on women. Within my organization, we have done small things in a very small scale compared to the counterparts in corporate. that is, a woman should not be, she should be treated right. She should have a forum, an aggressive forum. So these are very small things that we're doing in a very small way. But the conversation today is about empowering a woman and getting more women into engineering. So you girls have already won the battle there. Just keep keeping the flag going high and continue with the beat. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Dr. Seema. My next question goes to Professor Rao. Professor Rao, we have talked about initiatives being taken up by the higher education sector and the workplaces to support women in engineering. But at the same time, we also find that there is less participation by girl students in competitive engineering entrance examinations like JEE. So what do you suggest can be the measures that can be taken at the school level to balance this pipeline at the entrance level so that there is more participation of girl students in these entrance examinations? In your opinion, what schools can do and how higher education institutions can support schools?
Yeah, thank you. This is a very good thing. In fact, this is something we thought of about 4 years ago. One of the reasons why so few girls take these exams is because of the coaching culture that exists. You have to go to a coaching institute, but very often these coaching institutes are again far away from the home places of girls, and parents don't want to send them. And in many rural areas, they don't even want to invest that kind of money on girls. I think it's a patriarchal society, and you can do anything about it. So we launched an initiative from IIT-Delhi. In fact, IIT-Delhi is the national coordinator for that. If you go to Google and search IIT Professor Assisted Learning, IIT PAL. So we started an IIT PAL program where the best IIT professors were picked up to record lectures in maths, physics, chemistry, and biology, and using the NCERT textbooks, and essentially to prepare children at homes for these for these examinations. So this is called IIT PAL program. 800 hours of lectures we recorded in these 4 subjects, all made available free of cost to anybody in the country who wants to take it. And these are all taught by the best IIT professors, keeping the JEE examination in mind. I mean, there will be paper solving sessions and all of that. We even started involving the JEE toppers, the JEE top students which come to IITs to even conduct, there are lots of tricks that you need to learn to clear these exams, even to teach those tricks and all of that. So we have recorded even those lectures. All of that is available online right now. If you go to IIT PAL website, you find that. Why did we do that? We did it essentially because of this reason, that anybody sitting at any remote place who cannot afford these coaching institutes for whatever reason it is, can still prepare for these exams and clear that. I think the impact of that probably will become visible in the near future. But now I already when I heard about it, I think it has crossed 10 million views and that sort of a thing. And many girls, when I recently visited some place, said that we are aware of it now and we are using that and all of that. That was one thing which was very essential. Another thing which we also did was conduct counseling sessions. Our biggest challenge in IITs is the girls not able to clear IIT exam. No, that's not the problem, because many girls clear the IIT exam, but they still don't come to IITs. That is the challenge. So one of the things we did was, and the reason they don't come is sometimes, like I mentioned, the place where they get their admission. The second thing is even the branch. Many girls think that they should choose electrical or electronics, they should choose computer science, or choose some of these softer kind of options. And many a time it's all, some perceptions they have formed looking at some Bollywood movies and all of that. When you think of a civil engineer, why can't a girl do civil engineering? I mean, it just doesn't, look right to me that girls are not choosing civil engineering. And it's happening simply because if you close your eyes and think of a civil engineer, what comes to your mind? Somebody, a man wearing a helmet, sitting next to a bridge, standing next to a bridge, overseeing some construction kind of an activity. Civil engineering is not that anymore. Civil engineering, if you look at IIT-Delhi, half of the faculty members are actually working on environmental engineering. They are all civil engineers, but environment has become so important for civil engineers. My last proposal to civil department at IIT-Delhi was, why don't you change the name of civil department to civil and environmental engineering? Because the construction, today if you construct anything, you have to look at the impact of the dam or whatever you are constructing, on the entire, place, and a lot of things need to go into that. I think, so therefore civil engineering, many of them don't even move out of their lab and are still civil engineers and do a lot of very interesting kind of work. Mechanical engineering. Now, what is mechanical engineering? You no longer go and sit in front of a huge machine and then turn some things by your hand and all of that. Operating these machines is like operating computers. Every machine now has a computer interface, and you basically operate computers even to operate those large plants and large machines and all of that. I think these general misconceptions that civil, mechanical involve a lot of stamina, strength, girls cannot take that. All those days are gone. Lots of mechanical engineers at IIT-Delhi are working on mechatronics. And you go and look at their laboratories now, they're all working in biology kind of areas. They are looking at, how the biological tissues, what is their mechanical properties, all of that is what they're also beginning to do right now. So I think many of these areas have evolved, but the general misconception among girls is, if I am a girl, the preferred choice is computer science, IT, and that kind of thing. But that is where we conduct counseling sessions now. I have participated in many of those counseling sessions to explain to the girls that, these specializations are also open to them. They can also choose these, and they don't have to go by those traditional kind of choices. I think again, it's again building role models. It's again, changing these kind of wrong notions about some of these disciplines. I think it needs to happen at the national level. We need to undertake that as a mission kind of thing.
Thank you, Professor Rao, for sharing IIT PAL initiative and the emphasis on counseling, on what and on breaking the myths on what women can do and perhaps what they cannot do. Next, we move to Dr. Lipika. Dr. Lipika, we all have formal supervisors or seniors during our studies in colleges and in offices. However, informal mentors can play a very different role in helping us choose career opportunities or advance our careers. They can help us sail through difficult situations in our careers. Did you have or had one? If yes, please share your experiences. How does one find such a mentor? What critical role can they play?
Well, yeah, so indeed, there are lots of difficult times. For me, there has been no separate or a particular mentor. My PhD supervisor was also my friend, and truly speaking, even now, whenever I have an issue, I write to him or I talk to him. So that's one thing. But yeah, mentorship is very important, which I realized actually not through my own experience, but as I have been a part of several sessions organized by ACM, even inside TCS, we have had several sessions where I understood, actually I belong to one of the privileged few. So right from my childhood, somehow I have always heard about women doing things. So the very first astronaut name I remember was always Valentina Tereshkova, who went to space even before I was born. Then Ashima Chatterjee, who was a scientist, Padma Shri. So, for times, it was my father who would always tell that Captain Durga Banerjee, she flew the first commercial flight in India. So somehow, from my very childhood, there was nothing like a woman specifically can do or should do or cannot do or whatever. So I personally never had that issue. However, what I realized was when I went to these various sessions, not everyone is as fortunate. So therefore, the mentoring sessions become very important. And we do have a lot from ACM. We organize sessions for PhD scholars, grad cohort, we call it, which is specifically for women research scholars. We have sessions in organizations, various IITs, educational institutes, everywhere, wherever I go to. There is a need for those kind of programs where people can come and share the kind of problems they are facing which in many cases is actually social pressure. Even when a person has come to do a PhD, they are completing a PhD, there is a lot of pressure on girls that you have to work, you have to agree to what your in-laws say and not really assert yourselves. You cannot choose your workplace. You have to listen to what your husband or in-laws or whatever is saying. So sometimes I feel like holding sessions for in-laws, especially in our country. That's very important. Anyway, since I don't have the power to do so, all that I can say is we would like to encourage women to take this opportunity for ACM mentorship, INE mentorship. All organizations are actually offering that you come for internships in the summer, get attached to various senior leaders, see what is happening, what are the kind of opportunities that an organization has, whether it's of course, it's for men and women both, but if you are looking specifically for what an organization is doing for a woman, what kind of opportunities you can have, particularly say for TCS, we have offices all around the country, all around the world actually. So there's a lot of movement that is possible without giving up on your dreams, just to move around with your husband. So these things have become very important. Reach out. Sometimes our mentors are just our friends. My seniors at IIT, when I joined as a faculty in IIT-Delhi, they were my senior faculty members who had gone through the same experiences of, how to balance an 8 o'clock class in the morning with a sick child at home. Of course, myself and my husband, both being at IIT, we have taken equal share in looking after our child, attending conferences, one person staying back, managing the schedule together. These are things we have to learn to also implement at home, and we learn it from our seniors, we learn it from our friends, we reach out to our support systems, and we have to learn to build our own support systems. How to do it, how to solve our problems. Basically, we need to keep watch out wherever we can. We should reach out and learn to solve our problems rather than just stay with them.
Thank you, Dr. Lipika. So, Dr. Andrea, how do you advise young women researchers to actively showcase their work and get recognition? Do you think we women are doing enough, or do you think we should be doing things a bit differently?
Thank you very much for the questions. So I've been invited in such panels since a while now. And since then, I have settled a list of advice and that I would like to share with you here. So first of all, so this answer to the different points that you have been raising. So first of all, for the young ladies in the audience today, so do not behave like a man, first of all. So please be yourself. You can be even much better than a man, okay? So first, and then make sure you learn something new every day in your life. Take the opportunity that science, and I would say, so I will praise for my side, so semiconductor industry is a very fast growing field, and there are many challenges and opportunities to make world a better place to live, and you can bring your brick in there. So be part of it. Then find a working place which is sustainable, which cares for the humans and for the planet well-being. Then surround yourselves with what was said, with advisors, with mentors, with coaches, and they should be both women and men. And then recognize from your errors and learn from them and go on further on. Define your career path. When when you leave in the morning, think of your career path, but don't be blunt on it, meaning that allow yourself to do on-the-fly adjustments as needed. And also, so it is the saying that a lady has to work twice as a gentleman to be equally recognized. So this is still valid, but it is on each of us to work to make it fade. Okay, so be part of it, be part of the revolution. At the end, live a pleasant life next to good people and cultivate your hobbies. So be happy where you are. And then I have some big points like create and raise a family. A family can be your blood family, can be your adoption family, can be your work family. I will give you an example. So I am mother of 2 young adults now, but I have raised through my work a family of more than 35 PhD students. So they are also my work family, and I'm proud with them. Share your knowledge and give more than you have received. And at the end of the day, so enjoy what you are doing. So be yourself, be genuine, and make it work. And I would like also to comment related to forums where women can get together and meet and build together. So in IIIE, there are a lot of opportunities. So I am very active in the Solid State Circuit Society, and I will provide to Dr. Anuba the link. So we have a group there, an ad hoc group called Women in Circuits. We are meeting with each and every major conference of SSCS. And you are, all of you, you are welcome to join us as well. So I know in Delhi, you have a very active IIIE chapter, which has received some years ago the award of Best IIIE Chapter. And if there is no group of women in engineering together with it, you can create it and you can be active in there and get activities. So please go there, go and see it. So I am sure I knew the people who had started this chapter some years ago. I can find you connections if you cannot, and go there and be yourselves there. And so the final message is enjoy, be yourself, and stay strong and look in front of you. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Andrea. So the message is be yourself and enjoy what we are doing. Thank you so much. So my last question goes to Dr. Seema. Are professions gender agnostic? What is your take from a government perspective?
Thank you, Anupa. Firstly, government is a very generous employer. I'm sure all of you are thinking of going into the corporate world, very fancy salaries, very good. I hope you get it. But just to take up a government world, it's a very generous employer for one very reason. The concept of glass ceiling that we hear about in the corporate does not exist in the government. You're as good as you are. I mean, if you take my organization, my director general, she's a lady, a very, very capable, wonderful lady who's got wonderful leadership capabilities. We have a lot of key positions. I head a very major department, so a lot of key positions are led by ladies. So it's never been, I mean, the question of where she's a woman never comes up as a conversation in the government. So government, from this perspective, is extremely generous. I cannot, corporate, I've only heard stories. I've never worked in the corporate, so I can't comment on it, but there's so many of them, so I'm assuming some of it is true. But from a government perspective, is not. But I would just like to say that what is very liberating and very nice to see in government is, like I gave you a few statistics to throw that there are a lot of women engineers, there are a lot of girls in STEM. A lot has been discussed that in JEE, 15 to 20% girls only go. But somewhere down the line, women tend to fall back for various reasons, which have already been discussed. I need not raise them again. They have family, they have reasons for whatever. But when I get a presentation, because I take a lot of presentations in the corporate world, and I see only men giving technical presentation and women are generally in the marketing role, that at times tends to be a little disappointing. I very often tell the people who come and give me technical presentations that why don't you have women in the technical leads? Why do you have only women coming as marketing trying to arrange a technical meeting? And why is she not giving a technical presentation? And it's very nice to see that a room full of men giving a presentation to a lady who's a decision maker. So it's that level where you need to come to. Like Andrea also said, be yourself. But I would just like to add, like she said, don't try to be like men. What I keep telling my daughters is there was an era when there was a term coined, damsel in distress. You've all heard of that? Well, we women are no longer in distress, we can cause distress. A lot of it, a lot of it. Our nuisance value is very high, not in a negative perspective, but we can make our presence felt. And making your presence felt is absolutely, the question is from a government perspective, I feel professions should be gender agnostic across. But somehow we are mentally conditioned. When we say nurse, we think of a woman. When you say a teacher, you think of a woman. Although that's not necessarily true. गुड़िया के साथ लड़की खेलती है, लड़के नहीं खेलते. Why? She said she was very fortunate. I am part of the same club, extremely fortunate. Like I said, it's nature and nurture. Our mothers have been very wonderful role models. We were groomed in a family where the question of being a woman was never a question. I did just what my brother did. Everything. Today, there's not a field where women can't go. So this should never come to your mind that you can't do it. That inner confidence has to come from you. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. If you're a woman, if the confidence is not in you, you will never find your place on a decision-making table. Learn to walk up to a decision-making table and pull up a seat and sit down and stay there. Otherwise, you'll always be in the background, never noticed, your voice never heard. And by heard, you don't need to be loud. You need to make your presence felt. And we women are more than capable. I'm sure that's been drummed into you. That's why you're in this room today. You have major mentors in your life, your mothers, your brothers, your fathers. Again, a mentor can be gender agnostic. He need not be a woman. You can pick anybody, but nothing can replace what you find within yourself. So a lot has been said, but I would just like to end by telling you what I keep telling my daughters, my greatest contribution to the society. I have two ferocious daughters who are the next upgraded version of mine, so very less bugs and fixes, less vulnerability. So they are a much upgraded version of me. But what I always tell them, my both daughters, grown-up girls, I tell them, I don't know how many of you have heard of the Serenity Prayer. If you haven't, let me tell that to you. Remember these words, they're going to hold you in good stead somewhere down the line. God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to take the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You have to know this. Pick your battles carefully, ladies, because you can't win all of them. But the battles you pick, you bloody well win them. Right? Good for you, more power to you. Thank you.
We are extremely thankful to our learned panelists who have shared a lot of interesting insights and information that can help augment the pipeline for increasing the number of women in engineering and to support them while they are in the profession. Now the floor is open for questions from the panelists.
Would not make the problem or issue of women in engineering be of women only. I will also recognize the fact that this is much more structural. It's much more driven by, say, structural constraints with respect to family caregiving, childbearing, those kinds of things. But also like something that Professor Rao alluded to, the fact that concerns of patriarchy, honor may not allow women to transcend certain spatial kind of distances, and thus curtail their chances of getting into IT. My question now is to Professor Rao. It's very heartening to hear the kind of steps that IIT-Delhi is taking to ensure that women get represented, and if not like equally, at least there is a margin of improvement. Right? What do you think, in your opinion, is the reason we don't see a same kind of transition in IIT, the transformation in IIT with respect to higher leadership? None of the IITs will now have a female director, and yet IITs from like 1960s on this. I'm sure you're a part of a circle where such conversations would be repeatedly happening. So can you give us some insight into what's really the reason behind it, and in near future, are we going to see some kind of a transformation around that? Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, it's good that you mentioned that was one of the points I wanted to mention. In fact, some time ago, I posted on Twitter a picture of 23 IIT directors with the President of India. And I asked, what is wrong with this picture? So many people could not get that. Some people said somebody is cross-legged in the presence of President, all kinds of things, but not many could actually get that. That is the correct situation. And I think government needs to be more sensitive, which is unfortunately, though government is a good employer, but when it comes to picking people for leadership role, I think they can do a better job. I personally feel that. But also problem to some extent lies with the women too. I know enough good women in the IIT system who could have been good directors any day. But many of them don't even apply. The reason why they don't apply is they don't think they are good enough. That is the biggest challenge. Whereas a man, much inferior, thinks he should have been the President of India. I mean, nothing like that.
So we actually find
Just one point I wanted to mention. I mean, we also started at IIT-Delhi. Now, today, if you want to join IIT-Delhi as a faculty member, as a staff, as a student, get admission, you have to pass a test. The test is conducted by we created what we call IIIS, Institute Gender Sensitization Committee, IIIS. There is a website, you can see that. We have created about 1 hour of video lectures, and these are primarily targeting men, how they should behave themselves in the presence of women and all that. And everybody has to clear a quiz. So if you don't clear the quiz, you don't get admission, you cannot become an employee at IIT-Delhi. We just implemented it with the approval from Senate and board. Now everybody who is joining, in fact, we said now all faculty members, all staff, all students in IIT have to take that quiz in a certain time frame and clear it. And last time when they approached me, they said, "Sir, can we keep 75% as the pass percentage?" I said, "No, it should be 100%." It's like if you take these traffic driving license tests in the US, right? If you fail even cannot answer even one question properly, you have to come back and take the test. So there is no margin for error when it comes to driving and all of that. The same should apply even to gender sensitization as well. So I think some of these are the measures. The sensitization is very important. I think we not only need to sensitize men. I will give you a simple example. I mean, some faculty member who wrote to me recently said, some time ago, 4 years ago, wrote to me saying that I attended this faculty selection committee meeting in this department. The head of department was very keen to know where is my husband working. And because he somehow felt that if husband is working somewhere, how can you come to IIT-Delhi? And her point was, he wouldn't have asked that question to a man. I mean, why is he asking that to him? But this man is actually innocent. It's not that he really means anything wrong or anything, but that sensitization is not there in the people. I think we need to create that. And that at IIT-Delhi now, that IIIS, if you look at our website, perfectly done, all managed by faculty. Now we are making everybody mandatorily take the test and clear 100%.
Hi. How many questions am I allowed? 2, 1, only 1. Okay. So then, if that's just one question, then my question is for Dr.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm Vishweshwar, and I retired from IIT-Delhi, and I'm a IIIT. I spent a fair amount of time as head counseling service for students. My observation, I'll say that first, I'm going to ask my question. My question is addressed to all panelists, even though Deepika did touch upon it, what I have in my mind, and was Ramgopal towards the end of responding to your question. What I found as a counseling head was that women are a lot forthcoming to discuss their issues, lot stronger in their head than the men were. They had no courage, no strength to come up and say, this is my problem, how do I solve it? They'd rather break down than get support. This is the first thing. If anybody says women are weaker, must be dreaming. What we need, right, is not women empowerment. We need societal enlightenment, right? The women are not coming to engineering not because they're incapable. If I go to a college outside an IIT, more than 50% of the students are girls, right? The first thing we don't teach them when they enter the college, there are no more girls and boys. They are men and women. They are independent. They're never taught, right? This is something the society doesn't do. This Leepika put it up. Her father helped her. Like my father told my sister, you decide the year of your marriage. You want to get married at 20, you get married at 20. You want to get married at 22? My sister said, I'll work for a couple of years and get married. Way back in the 60s, she got married when she was 23 years old. Right? It's a rarity. Leepika's father and my father were a rarity. Right? But what we need to do is make it natural. Notwithstanding the fact that majority of sociologists in India are women, they're doing nothing for social reform, as I call it. Can the panelists tell me how we can go ahead and do it, that men stop thinking that they run the world and start thinking we run the world? There's nothing for a woman or a man. There's only a human being. Thank you. How can we do that?
So, just to set the records right, I did mention my father mentioning all those names, but my mother also prodded that I should be everything that she was not. So I should be bold, I should speak out. So, you know, all credits to my mother also. And that's one thing. And yes, but I think indeed we have progressed a lot. So I do have hope. Today, this room has almost 50-50 presence of men and women. I remember when we initially started having these sessions about 10 years back, it used to be all women. And I kept on saying we cannot change the world if we keep on discussing our problems in a closed room among women, because it's for the men to hear. It's not as if the men over here, they are going to go back and they have their wives who are working elsewhere, their daughters. And very interestingly, what I find, I am a very avid blogger. So my classmates, they don't always agree with me. They have even told me in the past, you better not go to my home and, change my wife's mindset. So that, but later, they come back to my blog and actually write when their daughters are grown up. When they fear that their daughters are going out to that world and not prepared to actually face this big bad world, then they send their daughters to me and say, okay, can you mentor them? So yes, it is required, and I hope this is a positive sign that we have all men and women here in the panel, and that's a positive step.
Thank you. So last question from Dr. Sambuddho.
Hi. So since just one question is allowed, my question is for Dr. Seema. It's good since you represent the government and you want to have a pipeline of women in engineering and technology. It's excellent. But what about women who are not able to appear for the high school exams because they wear a particular headgear, because they have a particular religion, ethnicity, or whatever? I mean, you say beti bachao, beti padhao, beti to padh nahi pa rahi, exam bhi nahi de pa rahi, aap logon ne rok diya. What do you say about that?
One word answer, it's wrong. But like the gentleman at the back said, it's the whole society change that needs to happen. And like Lipika said, it's very nice that the men are equally represented in the room. So the change needs to start from there. Yes.
But the law is from the government.
I agree. The government is taking steps. The first thing
it had simply accepted. Government had this law to not prohibit women wearing a particular headgear to enter the schools, appear for the university exams, because of which they are even, not even. So if you have this pipeline of women from underprivileged societies, from minorities who are deprived of basic education, which your constitution allows, ensures basic fundamental right of education, if they are deprived of that, how do you expect a lot of women from minority
They're
communities?
not deprived by the government. They're deprived by the men around
No,
them.
government, no, ma'am. The Karnataka government actually has imposed this on schools now. So please let's accept it.
In my view, government would not have deprived it. You need to read between the lines. But I don't see this government depriving it. Karnataka, I'm talking from the center. Karnataka, let me go and check it out. But I don't think it was deprived. But I think
Ma'am, Karnataka is, ma'am, it's there.
See, the fact of the matter is, I'm not here to change a reform. Thoughts need to change. We are having discussions which are more individual centric because we are voicing our own opinion and what the government has already done. You're raising a point which a state government has done, so perhaps it's left best then to address it. But at the moment, what we are trying to discuss is a change at the society level needs to happen, and that includes the people you're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
The right to education is a fundamental right.
It is, absolutely it is.
Of the constitution.
Absolutely,
In
there's
the
no denying
preamble.
that. There is no denying that.
So whose responsibility is to assure that right to education to women of minorities?
The
If
state
the-
of the,
if the
if
state
Karnataka
government is
has done
saying-
it, it's
Ma'am.
then the center. So then, okay.
Thanks, you accept it.
Thank you. So, thank you so much. So we thank all the panelists. So thank you so much. And now I invite Professor Bose to present a movement to speak. So Professor Rao, please. Dr. Seema. Dr. Deepika. And thank you, Dr. Andrea. Thank you so much for joining us here. And yeah.
Thank you very much for having me.
Dr. Andrea, it is said that there's a surprise gift for you in the email. So please check your email.
You are very kind. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to participate in your panel and very interesting discussions. Thanks a lot. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person next time I can come to Delhi. Thank you.
We'd love to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you all the panelists. It was really very, very nice, giving us a very beautiful perspective. I think we can invite all the team members to come up on stage for a group photo. The RIISE team members, please. They have been planning and putting in all the effort.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Dr. Andrea, thank you so much for
Thank you so
joining
much.
us here. So we are logging out now from the session. Yeah, so
Yeah.
here.
Thank you, Andrea, for joining in. It was a pleasure listening to you and having you with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuj.
And
Thank you.
next time we want you
Take
here
care.
physically on campus at the flight. Whenever
Thank you.
we have to.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Yeah, bye.